After I published my previous video about first oil change on our 2021 Toyota Sienna, one of my viewers asked about using a Fumoto oil drain valve on this new Sienna model. Over the years, I have changed the oil on over 16 different vehicle models and have not heard about Fumoto oil valves before. So I got interested to test it on our 2021 Sienna. After 6 months of ownership, we've driven over 10,000 miles and it's time to change oil again. As a part of this oil change, I will install the Fumoto F133 oil drain valve, show you how well it fits in the new Sienna, we'll test its operation by draining a small amount of newly added oil, and tell you why I installed this valve on our minivan. Hello and welcome to Telvia. Let me tell you the reasons why I got intrigued by the idea of an oil drain valve. First, to properly drain oil on any vehicle, the oil needs to be sufficiently hot. I usually run the car engine for a few minutes to warm the engine oil in the oil pan. Unscrewing the oil pan plug when the oil is hot is an unpleasant task, and it is potentially hazardous to your hands. If the oil plug happens to be over-torqued by an overzealous service center technician, it can be frustrating to remove the plug, and it may require applying potentially excessive force on the oil pan. Also, while unscrewing the last few threads of the drain plug, the hot oil starts leaking on my hands, and the plug sometimes gets dropped into the drain oil, and it needs to be fished out and cleaned. Using an oil valve should make draining oil much easier. Torquing the drain plug to spec is an extra step in every oil change, and this step will also be avoided in subsequent oil changes with the oil valve installed today. The second reason for installing an oil drain valve is to make it easier to adjust the oil level in case of an accidental oil level overfill. The new oil is sold in 1 and 5 quarts containers. Most vehicles have oil replacement volume specifications in quarts and fractions of a quart. For example, this new 2021 Sienna requires 4.5 quarts when both oil and oil filter are replaced. Using volume markings on the side of all containers is imprecise and can lead to adding more oil than specified. Draining excess oil using standard oil plug is not easy because the oil drains rapidly once the plug is removed, and trying to screw the plug back in with the oil gushing out creates a lot of mess. Today I will test the new Fumoto oil drain plug for its ability to drain a small amount of oil in case of an accidental oil overfill. Okay, let's go ahead and do the oil change. I'm using a genuine canister style Toyota oil filter, model number 90915-YZZN1, and Toyota specified 0W16 Mobil 1 oil. I have decided to change oil in our Sienna every 5,000 miles to extend the longevity of the vehicle and enhance its resale value. The cost of the oil and oil filter for this oil change is $35. Since Toyota recommends oil changes every 10,000 miles and the cost of oil change at the Toyota service center on average in the United States is $70, changing oil as a do-it-yourself project every 5,000 miles is equal to paying for service every 10,000 miles, and it takes about the same time as driving and waiting at the service center. Once the oil is drained from the pan and from the oil filter port, I will install a new oil filter, and now we'll install the Fumoto valve. Let's look closely at this Fumoto F133 oil valve. There are several versions of Fumoto valves available. I chose the F133 model because it is designed for vehicles with the plug facing down from the bottom of the pan, like on this 2021 Sienna. The valve is made of brass and it comes with oil gasket. The valve lever is secured by a plastic tab which prevents the lever from accidentally opening. Once the plastic tab is removed, the lever still needs to be depressed from a notch that holds the lever in the closed position to release the lever and then rotate it down 90 degrees to fully open. As you can see, this is a bolt style valve and it allows partial opening by moving the lever between 0 and 90 degrees. I will use this design feature to drain small amount of oil to perfectly adjust the oil level on the dipstick when needed. To torque this valve to the target spec of 41 Newton meters, I will use a torque wrench attached to a 7/8 inch oxygen sensor socket. It's not a perfect fit, but it will allow me to apply 41 Newton meters of force without damaging the valve. To simulate draining oil in the next oil change and to test how well a small excess volume of oil can be drained from the engine block with the valve closed, I added a 1 pint of new oil. A simple turn of the lever allows oil to flow, and the flow can be controlled by partially closing the valve. In this test, I drained less than the full pint of oil I added to the engine, so I will adjust the total volume of fresh oil needed to get it to spec. As you can see, this valve has a relatively low profile when comparing it to the original Toyota oil plug bolt. The Fumoto valve is only half an inch taller than the stock plug, and it does not interfere with the plastic cover over the oil filter and oil drain valve area. After lowering the van from supports, I added 4 additional quarts of fresh Mobil 1 oil. Run the engine for a couple of minutes, allowed oil to collect into the oil pan for about 60 seconds, and then measured the oil level using a dipstick. The oil trace on the dipstick is close to the upper limit hole on the dipstick, indicating that the oil level is within specification. I found that draining oil and controlling oil flow rate is much easier and less messy with the valve. I think this Fumoto oil drain valve is a good addition to any vehicle if you regularly change oil yourself. Let me know what you think about this gadget and tell me about your oil changing experience. If you found this video interesting and informative, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. See you next time. Cheers!